All right, friends, and welcome back to Be Fabbo Podcast. I am your host, Bobby Brinkman. I am so excited that you are here today. If you're new, welcome. This is a space where we talk honestly about building a business and a life that actually fits who you are. No hustle culture, no performance productivity, but just real conversations about what it really takes to build a business around the life that you want and something that matters most. So today we're going to talk about something that I think we often think of as going to feel like relief, right? We're going to talk about simplicity. Now, before you say anything, oh, Bobby, I've heard this before. Just do less, blah, blah, blah. But I want to promise you that this is not that kind of conversation. This is more of a conversation where you can dig a little bit deeper and sort of think a little bit about why complexity is costing you more than you think, and why removing things is almost always more powerful than adding them when you want to create real momentum and start building and growing. However, you define growth, success, or building, keep that in mind as you listen in on this episode. So let's dive in. So here's what I see happen again and again with people that are building their businesses, regardless if you're just starting out or if you're in the middle of a change or if you're ready to just start something totally new, because I've done this myself. So I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, and we don't accuse or we don't share blame. We just look for opportunities to improve and serve and share our talents in the best possible way. Things slow down, momentum drops. The results are harder to come by. Depending on what industry you're in and what business you're in, you may have seasons that are very busy and then very low seasons. And that's something that we balance with our life, right? It's that harmony, right? Here, balance is something that we think you might be waiting for something to fall. And harmony is how do we make everything work together? And that's part of building what matters most. So, what do we do? When things slow down, we often go, okay, I'm going to add a new service. I might do a sale or a special on a service. Or maybe if I bring on a new team member, that will help us grow because we can take on more work. We also might add another tool or another system, another content strategy, maybe even, again, building another offer. Maybe we find a new platform that we feel we should be on. We're reading Instagram and we're reading on Substack and we're following along what our colleagues are doing. And we think, oh, I should be doing that. It looks like they're having success on that platform. I'll give that a try. We reach for more because more feels like action. More feels like we're doing something. More feels that we're taking our business seriously. More feels productive. But if we think about it, is that the honest truth? Most of the time when things slow down, adding is one of the worst things that you can do because you're already stretched. You're already thinking, you're already letting those self-doubt come back into your mind, into your conscience. And we don't want that to happen because sometimes slowing down, we attribute to what's not working or are we failing? And that's that negative noise that we just can't keep allowing to come into our space. Complexity doesn't create momentum. It creates that feeling of momentum while quietly draining all of your energy. And you're going to need your energy to stay positive, to find solutions during the slow times. But also, this is where I want to interject a reminder. There is nothing wrong with a slow time. That's where you can reset, readjust, and really be proud of all the momentum that you've had going to this point. Relive and actually stand proud in the busy season that got you here. But most of us as entrepreneurs and small business entrepreneurs, we know that even slow times will scare us. It's that money scarcity, right? We're afraid that if we don't do something, will the money keep coming in? So I want you to think about something for a few seconds. Think about the last time you felt really clear in your business, really in flow, where the work felt direct and you knew what you were doing and the days had a quality of purpose to them. I'd be willing to bet that in that season, things were simpler than they are right now. Because clarity and complexity cannot coexist. In my opinion, they will always battle each other. Complexity scatters your attention. It multiplies all the decisions you have to make before you can even get any real work done. It creates a layer of management and maintenance that sits between you and the things that you're really trying to build. And then we wonder why we feel stuck. And I don't believe that we get stuck because we run out of ideas. I think we run out of energy and we run out of self-trust. We're not stuck because we lack ambition. We're stuck because we can't get the work through all these systems that we build to support the life that we want. We work through all these things. It's a platform. It's a software. It's if I do this, if I just change this, maybe if I change the font, maybe if I change my branding colors, all these things stand in the way of what we're really trying to build, a business that supports the life that we want. So here's the one thing about consistency that I think a lot of us miss. Simplicity is not the absence of ambition. It's not scaling back your vision or settling for something smaller than what you're capable of. Simplicity is removing what's between you and the work that you want to do, what's between you and the gifts and the talents that you have that you are put on this earth to make an impact with. It's asking honestly, what is essential here and what is just noise? What is moving me forward and what is giving me the feeling of moving forward while quietly keeping me in place? I want you to be real honest here. I want you to really think about some of these things. These questions, that question takes courage to answer honestly. When you ask yourself, what is essential here and what is just noise? So be honest with yourself when you think about that question. Because removing things is harder than adding them. Adding is easy. How many times have you just added something? And you go, okay, solve that problem. So you think. I'll add a new offer in here. The phone will ring. One person calls. You think it's successful. And it is because somebody did call. Adding feels productive. Adding gives you something to show for your time. It almost appeases you that you are doing busy work. And the busy work is the result of adding something. You feel, okay, I've done something. I'm staying busy. I'm feeling productive because I've added something. Removing something, whether it be an offer, whether it be how many hours you show up in your office, how much time you're going to give to a project, requires you to admit that something you built and maybe something that you're so proud of is no longer serving where you're going. That is honesty, right? That takes discernment. That takes honesty to actually realize that something you've been working on just may not serve you anymore. You're proud of it. It has served its course. It has been successful by your own definition, and it has provided you support for your family and for your community. But now maybe it's just not working any longer, and adding something to it isn't going to give you back that spark of joy, and most likely isn't going to give you the results that you want anymore. Something from my own building that I can share with you is when I was transitioning out of my 40 plus years of photography work, when my circumstances changed and I had to rethink everything. My first instinct was, okay, I'll add more to my speaking circuit. I'll add in a few more private workshops. That's what I was thinking. Then I thought, okay, no, I'm going to add in a different coaching. I already have a nice docket of clients that I work with. I'll open up a few more spaces. That's what my brain was telling me. My heart was telling me, don't do that, right? My heart and my gut was saying, don't do that. If I have a new offer and then I have some new strategies, this will help me transition from all those years behind the camera and enhance the speaking that I was doing. So I was building maybe an elaborate scaffolding for me, for something that I didn't have defined clearly yet, but I knew, okay, if I just did a few more workshops or facilitated a few more small workshops, where we roll up our sleeves and really get into what matters most. I love those. That's my fine joy. If I did that, then that would help me fill up this void. Right? And then something that I had to remember that I teach here on the podcast and that I teach over on Substack and that I teach when I talk in person is what's the simplest version of this that actually is true? What's the simplest version of if I add more coaching, if I open up more coaching spots, if I add on a new workshop? Is that the simplest version? Is that the truest form of what I need to do? What's the simplest version that's actually true for where you are now? The simplest version of something you can fill in with, not adding, but removing something. That might be the simplest version to help you weather this slow time. And again, there's nothing wrong with the slow time. I think we need to embrace it. We get so caught up in the hype of being busy and making it appear that we are busy, 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 that we forget that slow and rest is just as vital. So, what is the simplest version of where you are right now that you can do? How can you take something and remove it and still stay true to yourself, true to your brand, but remove it that's not filling you right now, that is not giving you all that joy and lighting that flame? When you sit with this question and you strip back everything that you're trying to build and you got honest with yourself, I think everything will get clear. I know it did for me. When I sat back and looked at the paper on my desk and said, I can add a couple sessions here, I was trying to fill a void for myself. I wasn't even thinking about the financial gain, but I was thinking I have enough room to add a couple more people a month, or I can go out on the road once I got my Parkinson's understanding a little bit better and the ebbs and flow of navigating Parkinson's on a daily. Could I just add a couple more small workshops? So when I sat with that, the decision got clear. And I started moving forward in a way that I hadn't been able to for a while because I didn't put in the simplicity. I was too busy adding more and making it more complicated. Simplicity was not the easy choice, but for me, it was the right one. I had to stick with my schedule the way that it was. I had to not add any more workshops. I wanted to just sit with where we were. That was the simplest thing for me to do, to not add, but also not remove. I just sat with what I had built in its simplest form. And for me, that was the right choice. I want you to think about how you see where you are. And if adding distracts, causes more chaos, or if removing might make you go further back a little bit, take another step and take a hard look at your business. That's hard to do. Or simply just sit with the season that you're in. So here's what I'd like you to do this week. I want you to pick one area of your business, just one, and ask this question. What could I remove here that would make everything else work better, smoother, where I still felt of value and I still was honoring my purpose of making an impact? What could you remove that would make everything else work better? Not what you could add, but what could you take away? Maybe it's a platform that you've been showing up on out of obligation rather than alignment. Maybe instead of doing Instagram 5 days a week, you cut back to 3 days a week. Because just because everybody else is showing up daily doesn't mean that that's the right path for you. These are hard truths. These are how we look into ourselves as entrepreneurs and as leaders, as self-leaders of our own businesses, so that we can build what matters most. Maybe you have an offer that has made sense, but no longer fits where you're going. Maybe it's time to remove one of your offers, one that nobody's been purchasing. You just have it there as a comparison. Just remove it and see what happens. You can always add it back in. You're not making permanent changes here. You're trying to work on the slower season. Maybe it's a content system that has become so elaborate that you dread doing it. Maybe you have been working on a project to move everything to a new platform, to move all your client files, to move all your projects, and it's just overwhelming. So sit with it. Whatever it is, name it. You don't have to remove it today, but I want you to at least name that. As you're listening, I want you to name what it is. What's the one thing that you can move that would make everything else work better, smoother, still make you feel proud of your business and what you're doing? Because you can't clear what you can't see. Now, if this conversation is landing with you, I want to invite you into something deeper. Over on Substack, Be Fabbo on Substack, I go deeper every single week. Every week we have a topic, right? On Wednesdays, I publish a full post, and this week's all about simplicity, which is why complexity is often procrastination in disguise, and how to find the most direct path to what you're really trying to build. Then on Fridays, I sit down with a short guided audio reflection, 8 to 10 minutes, with a few prompts, a little bit of coaching to help you take this week's conversation from your head into your life. It's kind of like this podcast. This is part of that. You're listening to part of what simplicity is about. And on Wednesdays, I go a little bit deeper. And then Fridays, I give you something to reflect about it. Everything is free. The Wednesday post, the Friday reflection, all of it. But if you want to go deeper still, and you want some worksheets and some tools that help you build what matters most, that's what the Motivated to Be Fabbo membership is for. You can get all that information over on Substack. I will put the link in the show notes here. It's down in the show notes. Please join me over on Substack and continue the conversation. All right? Come and join that conversation, because that is where real building happens. All right, friends. That's this week's episode, Simplicity. The courage to remove what's standing between you and the work that really matters. I'm going to leave you with this. You don't need more. You don't need to add more. You don't need to have more of anything. Yes, more clients, more finances, but also can promise you that sometimes doing less, profit, purpose, and joy will still follow. You need less of the right things with more clarity, more energy, and more of the feeling of what you're building actually matters. You need less. That's available to you right now. So do this little bit of homework. Sit down and say, okay, if I'm in a slow season, the summer season might be slow for some of you in the industries that you're in. Some might be really just heating up to be extra busy. So when you're extra busy, don't add either. Think about what you can remove that makes everything flow. You still serve your clients and you're still serving yourself. That's available to you right now, to know that you need less in order to move forward. All right? I'm cheering you on as always. You're already Fabbo. Exactly where you are and exactly who you are. Till next week, my friends.